At one particular time, I did talk about. I did say Terence Crawford.
Okay.
Now, but what are we rating these fighters on? What are we rating these fighters on?
Floyd Mayweather's eyeball test.
That works.
You're eyeballing these guys. You watch Terence Crawford. You know why he has a problem getting the other welterweights in the ring with him.
Yo, yeah. So if he was pound for pound, Floyd was pound for pound. You or Floyd? Who would have done that? Who would have won that?
Me.
Because I think Floyd at his best was a better defensive fighter than Crawford. Crawford's a better offensive fighter, but in those kind of matchups, I think defense usually beats the offense.
Floyd Mayweather recently responded to Terence Crawford during a live interview, arguing that Crawford does not deserve a place on the pound-for-pound list. In sharp contrast, Stephen A. Smith declared Crawford the finest fighter alive today, calling him the true pound-for-pound king. He emphasized that in the four-belt era, Crawford has proven his greatness by capturing every title to become undisputed world champion.
Terence Crawford is the best fighter on the planet. Pound for pound, he's that dude. In this four-belt era.
In today's four-belt era, Oscar de la Hoya also praised Floyd Mayweather, calling him the greatest trainer he had ever worked with. He added that if Mayweather were to face Terence Crawford, he would refine his approach, reinvent his technique, and emerge as a completely new fighter, an observation that highlights just how remarkable Floyd truly is.
Floyd, for me, is the best trainer I've ever had in my life. He would revitalize his style. He would make him a new fighter. That's how great Floyd is.
However, Max Kellerman argued that at his peak, Floyd Mayweather stood above Terence Crawford as the superior defensive boxer, whereas Crawford excelled more offensively. Yet in battles of contrasting styles like these, Kellerman reminded, it is typically defense that triumphs over offense.
Because I think Floyd at his best was a better defensive fighter than Crawford. Crawford's a better offensive fighter, but in those kind of matchups, I think defense usually beats the offense.
Furthermore, Robert Garcia noted that although Terence Crawford secured his place in history by becoming undisputed in a prime versus prime matchup, he would still lean toward Floyd Mayweather or Manny Pacquiao. Even so, Garcia acknowledged Crawford as one of the sport's all-time greats.
Mayweather never became undisputed. He's a 5-division champion, but never became undisputed. Never really followed that unification, stuff like that. So I think when it comes to accomplishments, I think he's already done more. In a fight, I probably still pick Mayweather. Both in the prime, I would probably pick Mayweather to win. Just like I would probably pick Pacquiao to win, both in the prime.
Ooh, to beat Crawford.
Yeah, I think so.
Prime for prime? Nice.
Yeah. But is Crawford one of the greatest of all time? 100%. There definitely he is.
Danny Garcia added that since Floyd Mayweather is roughly 10 years older than Terence Crawford, a truly competitive fight wouldn't make sense. However, he suggested that an exhibition match between them would be exciting, entertaining, and perhaps the most fitting option.
It'd be hard. I mean, they're not that separated in age, right?
I think Terence is 38. I think Floyd, I am not sure he's either 10 years older or 12 years older. I don't know if he's 48 or 50.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to get the best Floyd, so I don't think it makes sense.
Exhibition would be crazy. Actually.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Exhibition would be crazy, actually.
Yeah, I think that'll make a lot of sense.
Errol Spence Jr. explained that Floyd Mayweather's brilliant tactics inside the ring and his unmatched skill set elevate him to a different level, which is why Spence considers Floyd among the greatest fighters the sport has ever seen.
Spence is a little different because, Floyd is different. I feel like, he's the best fighter, I don't know about all time. He might be the best fighter all time. If not, he's close, 2-3, and not by far. So it's just it's a little bit different things that Floyd does. And Floyd was a lot older when I sparred him, and it's just certain things that he does that that's really tricky. Like the guy we get in the clinch, he was like squeezing my nose, and so I couldn't breathe and stuff like that. So it's just certain things that he do in there. It's just veteran stuff, just veteran all-time type stuff he was doing when I was part of it.
He further noted that while a clash between Crawford and Mayweather can only be imagined, Floyd's mental sharpness sets him apart. giving him a psychological advantage that makes him unrivaled compared to any other fighter.
Floyd would beat Crawford, would you think? I know that's just a fantasy matchup.
Man, I don't know.
I'm reaching,
I don't get into all that. Yeah. I don't know who went out. Sugar Ray Robinson and Floyd. I don't know, man.
But for Floyd was the best work, just like mental games and everything.
Oh yeah, mentally he is. By far, I feel like he's the best. He's the best mentally.
Coach Bernie remarked that if Floyd Mayweather and Terence Crawford had faced one another in their prime years, Floyd would have prevailed by wearing Crawford down with sharp jabs, crisp hooks, relentless body shots, and impenetrable defense, ultimately seizing control of the contest during the later rounds.
Just hypothetically speaking, just looking at, two fighters, you got Floyd and you got Crawford in their prime. Who you picking?
Can we all give an opinion on that?
You want to?
Yeah, I got an opinion on that too.
Coach, what you think?
I'm listening to you, Rep.
Floyd versus a prime Mayweather. We can go Pretty Boy, we can go Money May versus Terence Crawford in his prime. Who we got?
I think Money May would have shut Crawford down. He would have bored him to sleep like he do these fighters.
Yeah.
He would have jabbed him, hooked him, sticking to the body. You know what I'm saying? And then when the fighters swing back, Floyd nowhere to be found. So mentally, that's draining.
Yeah.
And about the 6th or 7th round, that's when we start picking up, putting the combination together.
MMA analyst Luke Thomas observed that although Terence Crawford's rise arrived later in his career, he still regards him as one of the most intelligent defensive boxers ever, possessing the rare ability to track and neutralize opponents regardless of how or where they move inside the ring.
Problem with Bud's career, right? It bloomed kind of late. I find Bud to be as defensively sound as I've ever seen a fighter. He can find you. There's nowhere to hide with him.
Like Floyd, he has such control over the turns in there. It's just insane.
And Clark stated that Floyd Mayweather was the defining boxer of his era, humiliating opponents with superior technique and mental toughness, establishing himself as the true embodiment of dominance throughout the 2000s.
That Bud is extremely skilled, right? Yet not as skilled as Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather made people look foolish, right? And so if I had to say who's the greatest I've seen, and Bud said it right, the best of an era and the best of an era, it's Floyd. But when I watched Bud against Canelo, there was this extreme skill on display, and there was a level of crazy that's different. There was a level of, and Floyd's extremely tough. Go back to Shane Mosley and the 2 punches he landed early in the fight and the way that he embarrassed him. I'm not saying that Floyd's not tough, Floyd's not a bad man, but there was domination inside that ring we saw this week.
He added that Terence Crawford has now demonstrated his own greatness by convincingly defeating marquee names such as Errol Spence and Canelo, showcasing both his bravery and his world-class skill set.
There's no fear in him in the way that he's attacked, gaining notoriety. Bud's been the baddest man for 12 years, but no one gave him credit because he didn't go tell you he was the baddest man. He didn't market that. He just went out and fought and beat people and knocked people out. So he had to move up and take the bigger fights and the better fights. And he was Errol Spence. We realized just how great he was. Canelo cemented him on what is the two-headed monster that marks the greatest of the 2000s. Floyd Mayweather is on that, and Bud Crawford is right next to him. I don't think we have to pick on who's better. I think they both dominated their eras.
Max Kellerman added that while Floyd Mayweather's resume may be richer, Terence Crawford has displayed a greater willingness to face absolutely anyone placed before him without hesitation.
Wild, because if you look at Floyd's resume, it's much deeper than Crawford's. And Floyd was faster and he had a better defense and all that stuff. But Floyd picked and chose when he fought guys, especially once he left lightweight. He wiped out the junior lights, bring him. Lightweight, he jumps up to Jose Luis Castillo first thing. A lot of people think he lost the first fight, then he won the rematch. But once he left lightweight, he was careful about when he fought guys. So even though his resume is deeper with names, people remember, but he didn't want it with certain dudes at certain times. Crawford, we all witnessed, even though the resume is thin in certain ways, he wanted it with everyone the whole time. That makes a difference to
Jeff Mayweather highlighted Floyd Mayweather's triumph over a young Canelo Alvarez as undeniable proof of Floyd's mastery inside the ring, while also acknowledging the early potential and promise that Canelo displayed at that stage of his career.
Also, if we remember, Canelo that time was a razor-thin decision. Floyd won, majority decision. C.J. Ross had it with what a lot of people had as a draw, and then the other two judges scored it for Floyd, of course. And that was a Floyd at the top of his game with a very green Canelo with very little experience, and he took him, into deep waters. So. Yeah, I'm still very, very young in the game, obviously.